The general froze on the roadside when he saw an old woman crying inside a garbage container, and something in her face hit him hard like a forgotten memory he never wanted to face again. He had always believed his mother was safe in a luxury nursing home, cared for by the best staff, far from struggle, far from pain, far from the life he had left behind years ago. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time is it and where are you watching from. Let's start. As he stepped closer, his heart began to race with a fear he couldn't explain. The smell, the dirt, the silence around her, it all felt wrong, and yet the way she covered her face while crying felt painfully familiar, like something he had seen in his childhood. A few seconds passed, but they felt like hours as he stood there in his perfect uniform, staring at a reality that didn't match the life he thought he had built for his family. He slowly called out, his voice no longer carrying authority but hesitation, and the woman slightly moved, her trembling hands dropping just enough to reveal eyes filled with pain and fear. That moment shattered him, because those eyes were not of a stranger. They carried years of silent sacrifice, the same eyes that once waited for him every night when he was nothing. Meanwhile, cars passed by, people ignored the scene, and the world kept moving. But for him, everything stopped, as if time forced him to face a truth he had been avoiding for years. He stepped closer, his polished shoes touching the dirty ground, and for the first time in years, he didn't care about status, rank, or image, only about the woman sitting in that darkness. And as he bent down slightly, his voice cracked when he whispered one word, a word he hadn't said in years, a word that carried guilt, love, and a fear of the answer he might receive. The old woman slowly looked up, her tired eyes struggling to focus, and for a moment she stared at him like she was trying to recognize a face she had once known but had lost to time. The general's heart pounded harder as he removed his cap, stepping even closer, his strong posture breaking into hesitation, as emotions he had buried for years started rising uncontrollably. She shook her head slightly, as if refusing to believe what she was seeing, her lips trembling while her hands gripped her torn dress, unsure whether this moment was real or just another cruel illusion. Inside his mind, memories rushed back, small house, long nights, her waiting at the door, feeding him before eating herself, and suddenly his perfect world began to feel like a lie. A man passing by glanced at them and whispered something about another abandoned old woman, and those words hit him harder than any battlefield wound he had ever faced in his life. The general turned sharply toward the man, anger flashing in his eyes, but for the first time he had no power here, because deep down he feared those words might actually be true. Meanwhile, the woman slowly tried to move back into the darkness of the container, as if she didn't want to be seen, as if she had already accepted that the world had no place for her anymore. He immediately reached out, stopping her gently, his hand shaking as it touched her arm, and that single touch sent a wave of realization through him that he could no longer ignore. "Who did this to you?" he asked, his voice filled with pain and confusion. But she didn't answer. She only looked away, as if protecting someone even in her broken state. At that moment, something inside him shifted, because he realized this was not just about finding answers anymore. This was about uncovering a truth he might not be ready to face. That same moment, the general stepped back slightly, his breath uneven, as a terrifying thought crossed his mind. What if the truth he'd trusted for years was nothing but a carefully built lie? He quickly pulled out his phone and dialed the manager of the luxury nursing home, his fingers trembling as he waited, his eyes still locked on the fragile woman sitting inside that cold container. Meanwhile, the woman kept staring at the ground, avoiding his eyes, as if she feared that looking at him too long would break whatever strength she had left to survive this harsh reality. The call connected, and the manager's calm voice greeted him with respect. But the general didn't waste a second, his tone sharp as he demanded to confirm his mother's condition immediately. There was a brief silence on the other end, just a few seconds, but it felt long enough to make his chest tighten, because something in that silence didn't feel right at all. Inside the car parked nearby, his driver watched from a distance, confused, as the powerful general stood helpless in front of a garbage container, a scene no one would believe if they saw it. The manager finally spoke again, claiming everything was fine, saying his mother was resting comfortably. But now those words sounded rehearsed, empty, and dangerously unconvincing. The general's eyes slowly shifted back to the woman, his mind now connecting pieces he had ignored before, missed calls, canceled visits, and excuses that suddenly made no sense anymore. He ended the call without a word, his jaw tightening, as anger and fear began mixing inside him, because deep down he knew someone was hiding the truth from him. And as he looked at the woman again, one painful realization hit him. He wasn't just standing in front of a stranger, he was standing at the edge of a betrayal that could destroy everything he believed. Without saying another word, the general gently helped the old woman out of the container, his hands careful, almost afraid, as if he was touching something fragile he didn't deserve to hold anymore. She resisted at first, pulling her arm back slightly, her eyes filled with fear, because life had taught her that sudden kindness often hides another kind of pain she couldn't survive again. Meanwhile, a few people gathered at a distance, whispering, judging, unaware that the man standing there was someone powerful, yet completely powerless in front of this moment. The general removed his coat and placed it around her shoulders, ignoring the dirt, ignoring everything, as guilt slowly replaced the pride he once carried so confidently. Inside the car, he opened the door for her, his movements slow and respectful, and for the first time in years, he wasn't commanding anyone. He was silently asking for acceptance. She hesitated before sitting, her eyes scanning his face again, trying to understand why this stranger felt so painfully familiar, yet so distant at the same time. As the car began to move, silence filled the space between them, heavy and uncomfortable, carrying years of unanswered questions and emotions neither of them knew how to express. Through the window, the city passed by, luxury buildings, bright lights, perfect lives, and each scene felt like a sharp reminder of how far he had gone from where he truly belonged. He finally spoke, his voice low and breaking, asking her name, hoping for clarity, but also fearing that one word could completely destroy the reality he had been living in. And when she slowly opened her mouth to answer, the car seemed to freeze in that moment, because whatever she was about to say would change everything forever. Inside the moving car, the old woman finally whispered her name, her voice weak and shaking, and the moment it reached his ears, the general felt his entire world collapse silently inside him. He gripped the seat tightly, his eyes filling with disbelief, because it was the same name he had written in official documents, the same name he trusted others to protect without question. Meanwhile, she kept looking outside the window, avoiding him again, as if saying that name had taken the last bit of strength she had left, as if she was done explaining herself to anyone. The general tried to speak, but no words came out, because now it wasn't confusion anymore. It was realization, painful and clear, that he had been living in a lie for far too long. That same moment, he ordered the driver to turn the car around, his voice suddenly firm again. But this time, it wasn't about control. It was about facing the truth he had ignored. A few minutes later, the car stopped in front of the luxury nursing home, the same place he had trusted blindly, the same place that now looked different, almost like it was hiding something dark. He stepped out quickly, helping the woman again, and as they walked toward the entrance, the security guard hesitated, confused by the situation, unsure whether to stop them or let them pass. The general didn't wait for permission, his presence alone forcing the doors open, and for the first time, his power was not about pride. It was about demanding answers he deserved years ago. Inside the reception area, the staff froze, their faces shifting from polite smiles to nervous tension, because they knew this was not a normal visit. This was something they couldn't control anymore. And as the manager slowly walked out to face him, the general's eyes locked onto him with a silence more dangerous than anger, because now the truth was no longer hidden. It was about to be exposed. The manager forced a smile as he approached, but his eyes betrayed him, shifting nervously between the general and the old woman standing beside him, like a truth he could no longer hide. The general didn't greet him, didn't speak politely, he simply stared, and that silence alone was enough to make the entire reception area feel heavy with fear and pressure. Meanwhile, the old woman stood quietly, slightly behind him, her hands trembling again, as if this place held memories she didn't want to relive, but could never escape. "Where is my mother?" the general finally asked, his voice calm but cold.
It's raining.
And this time there was no hesitation, no confusion, only a demand for the truth, no matter how painful. The manager tried to respond, repeating the same lie about her resting upstairs, but his voice lacked confidence now, cracking under the weight of the reality standing right in front of him. The general stepped closer, his eyes locked on him, then slowly moved aside, revealing the woman behind him, and in that moment, the manager's face completely lost all color.
You're right there, but feel so distant.
Staff members looking
like
down,
a dream I can't hold on,
because the
and I
truth
fake
had
a calm
already been exposed
expression
without a
while
single
my
word
heart is
needing to
coming
be explained.
undone.
Meanwhile,
raining
the
deep
general's
inside
mind
my
replayed
heart,
every excuse he had been
but
given
I don't
over
let
the
it
years,
show.
every missed
I
visit,
just stand here
every
in
delay,
the silence
and now
while I
each one
watch
felt
you
like a
let me go.
calculated betrayal.
You're walking with
"Explain me,"
somebody
he
else,
said quietly.
like I
But the
never
weight of those
crossed
two
your
words
mind.
crushed whatever
And I'm
confidence the
drowning
manager
in
had,
this feeling
leaving him with
that
no
I'll
escape,
never
no
leave
lie
behind.
strong enough to survive this moment. And
could
as the
scream, but
manager
what's the
finally
reason?
dropped his head,
You
unable
were
to
never
maintain
really
the illusion
mine.
any longer, the general
So I bury all
realized
the
that this
pieces
wasn't just negligence.
and
This was
pretend that
something
I'm
far worse, something
alright. It's
personal.
raining deep
The
inside my
manager's voice
heart,
shook as he finally spoke,
but I don't
as if
let me
her
go.
existence no longer
You're
mattered.
walking with
The
somebody
general felt his chest
else,
tighten, his
like I
fist
never
clenching,
crossed your
because every
mind.
word
And
confirmed
I'm
the worst
drowning
fear.
in this
He hadn't just
feeling
been lied
that
to.
I'll never
He had completely
leave
abandoned the one person who never left him. Meanwhile, the old woman closed her eyes, tears slipping down silently, as if hearing the truth again only reopened the wounds she had been carrying alone for far too long. The manager continued, explaining how payments stopped reaching the facility, how someone had
If you're happy
redirected
where you
everything, and how eventually she was sent away with no one to take responsibility. That moment hit harder than anything else, because the general knew he had never stopped those payments, which meant someone close, someone trusted, had betrayed both him and his mother.
You're walking
Inside
with
his mind,
somebody
faces
else,
flashed.
like
People
I
from his
never
office,
crossed
his
your
personal staff,
mind.
those
And
who
I'm
handled his
drowning
accounts,
in this
and
feeling
suddenly power and success felt meaningless
that I'll
in front
never
of such a
leave
personal
behind.
loss. He turned slightly toward his mother, his eyes filled with regret, but he couldn't even meet her gaze properly because guilt had taken away his right to stand tall in front of her. Meanwhile, the staff stood frozen, realizing this was no longer about a mistake. This was about a system of silence that allowed an old woman to be thrown away without consequences. The general took a deep breath, controlling the storm inside him, because now anger wasn't enough. He needed to fix what he had broken, no matter how late it was. And as he gently held his mother's hand for the first time in years, he understood one painful truth. This was not the end of her suffering. This was the beginning of his punishment. That same night, inside his mansion, the general sat beside his mother in silence, the luxurious walls around them feeling empty, as if all the success he built meant nothing in this moment.
Like a stranger
She looked around
passing
slowly,
by,
unfamiliar,
standing outside
her
your
eyes
love
carrying
story,
hesitation
while
instead of
my
comfort,
own heart
as
asks
if
me
she didn't
why.
believe she truly
I'm the
belonged
silence
in
in
the
the
life her son
background, the
Meanwhile,
one
he
you'll
watched her
never
every
choose,
movement,
loving
realizing how much
you
time he
without
had lost,
belonging,
how many moments he had
with
missed, and how
everything to
easily
lose.
he had trusted others instead of being
I don't
present
speak my
himself.
hidden
He
feelings,
finally spoke,
I don't
his
reach
voice
to
breaking
change
as
your
he
way.
apologized, not
So I
with
bury
pride,
all
not
my
with
heartache
excuses, but
and
with a
love
pain
you
that
from
came from
far
accepting
away.
that he had failed the one
I
person
quietly
who never
keep
failed him.
watching you,
She stayed
like
quiet
a
for
stranger
seconds,
passing
then
by,
gently placed her hand
standing
over his,
outside your
not
love
fully
story,
forgiving,
while
not
my
fully
own
rejecting,
heart asks
but
me why.
acknowledging that
I'm
something
the
real had
silence in
changed
the background, the one
A few
you'll
days
never
later,
choose,
at a small clinic
loving
he
you
personally funded,
without
the general was
belonging,
seen helping elderly
everything
people,
to
sitting beside them,
lose.
listening, doing what he should have done long ago for his own mother. Meanwhile, investigations began. Those responsible were exposed, and the system that once ignored the weak was
Maybe
forced to answer.
someday I'll
But
stop
none of
hoping,
it could erase the
stop
years his
searching
mother
your eyes for
suffered
me.
alone. At
But
a
until
public
then,
event
I'll
weeks
stay
later,
a
the
shadow
general stood beside
where
his
your
mother,
heart will
not as a
never
powerful
be.
man, but as a son seeking redemption,
I
showing the world
quietly
a
keep
truth
watching
many
you,
choose to ignore.
like a
He
stranger
understood now
passing
that
by,
success without
standing outside
responsibility
your love
is failure,
story,
and that
while
real
my
power
own
is
heart
not
asks me
control,
why.
but care
I'm the
for those who stood with
silence
you
in the
when you had
background,
nothing at
the
all.
one you'll
The
never
story ends
choose,
here, but
loving
its
you
truth stays with
without
us.
belonging,
Respect your parents before regret teaches you the value of love.
everything
Like,
to lose.
subscribe, and come back for the next story that might change the way you see life.